Everything you learned in history class was a lie. Well, maybe not everything, but they skipped the best parts. Introducing Stupiracy, where stupidity meets conspiracy. Ever heard of the Olympic marathon that nearly killed its runners? Or the time a pope put another pope's corpse on trial? Join me, Scott Rizzuto, and Tim McKernan as we uncover the most outrageous historical moments and mind-blowing conspiracies you won't believe actually happened. Tune into Stupiracy for your weekly dose of historical absurdity. Available wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, history is dumb, but laughing at it is smart.
I wish there was some sports, Pat. But now the Wild are shut down for 2 more games.
You know, I think, 1981, they had the split season in baseball because of the strike, and people played odd numbers of games, and they just went by percentage. I think you're going to have to do that in these sports.
Yep.
You can't have these teams make up all these games, can you?
I don't know how.
they're not going to play for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
They're not playing for another week. They don't have any players.
I just saw a note that I think Arizona is going to play someone 7 straight games
Really?
in the next 10 to 14 days or something like that.
In hockey.
In hockey, yeah.
Because they've had series wiped out and stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can
That
find
could get
it here.
so it's like a Stanley Cup final.
Yeah,
They're
right.
going to end up beating each other with sticks by the time they're done. But you're not, that would be an illegitimate result. But guess what? You're not getting a legitimate result now, right? If you just slap a team together that's half your minor leaguers and anything. So I mean, it's ridiculous to ask these teams to play that. I was hearing about the Nebraska basketball team, which is horrible. But they have.
God, your tweet was funny, by the way. Call some corn silage.
Corn silage. Well, he says the other day they can beat anybody. No, they've lost 23 in a row in the Big Ten. They can't beat anybody. They can beat nobody, and they proved that last night. But they're playing like 5 games in 8 days, traveling to Penn State and all over the place because of postponements. Just don't play them. It's just ridiculous to try to defeat.
They're going to
this
play
thing.
the St. Louis Blues 7 straight games.
Wow,
The Coyotes are?
The Coyotes
4 in St. Louis and 3 in Arizona,
something like that. Yeah.
Wow, that's that's ridiculous, isn't it?
Someone had responded to the tweet from the team from the Arizona Twitter account saying, "Can we place bets on number of fights per game at the end of this?"
I got a pandemic question for both of you guys. Why are we getting tested? Because 2 days we can if we're not feeling sick, if we've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Because 2 days later we can have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You mean why are we getting vaccinated?
No, I want to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
But vaccinated is fine, but tested. I go to get tested on Tuesday because I was near somebody 2 days
That had a
earlier
positive.
That had a positive. So I get tested on Tuesday and I don't have it. That doesn't mean I don't have it on Wednesday.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, it's. I think you just got to wait and see if there's some symptoms, right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's why I got my oximeter and my temperature gauge, and
I told the mayor earlier, Pat, after spending a couple of days in your state of Florida,
Mm-hmm.
word hasn't really gotten down there that there's this pandemic going on.
They seem to have some Tampa gatherings that weren't fully masked.
Yes, there was a lot of that.
Especially, this was a bad year for the home team to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Because people have a tendency to hit the streets when that happens, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so not only do you have the game there, but you have the home crowd pouring down to be anywhere near the arena so they can celebrate.
When
right?
I was heading back to the airport, the line to get into Disney World yesterday, early in the day yesterday, was down, because what is that? Is that 4?
That's 4.
Yeah.
Yes. Worst freeway in the history of mankind.
Wow. They were ready to party with Brady and Gronk at Disney World.
Oh, is that? Oh, they had Brady and Gronk going to Disney World.
Yeah.
Well, it's I mean, that's we have the situation of reporters going to spring training, and they've always rented condos. The newspapers always rented a condo that was built for 3 or 4. But we have some people who are very strict about trying to protect themselves, and others who have a tendency to go out at night. So now they have to get like different hotel, because you have different ideas of discipline in all groups, I think. And
what's hockey's problem? A lack of discipline with the players going out at night?
No, I think it isn't. Half of it, you're laying on top of each other in the corner spitting.
Maybe.
If somebody's got it in hockey, there's no place filthier than a hockey locker room. It's just except for a wrestling room. A wrestling room's worse.
Yes.
But yeah, it's all that equipment, Joe, and stuff. I know it's not. I don't know what it's airborne supposedly, but all that sweat can't help you, can it?
Well, we've had a theory for years that the team that's going to win the cup is the team that can continue to stand to put on their equipment.
Yes, that's true. You're going out there for Game 6, and you're on the road for Game 6. You're
82 degrees outside.
You're down 3-2.
Yeah.
You just had the home court advantage ice advantage taken away from you, and you got beat 6-1 at home.
Yep.
And you're saying,
do I got to put this on again?
I could be in Saskatchewan playing golf and swatting flies. Deer flies could be my number one problem. The hell with it. If they get the first one, I'm done. I'll go out there and give it my all. But if they get the first one, the hell with it.
Yeah.
So that's true. That is true. Hey, I told Judd this today, but I'm really kicking myself in the ass during this pandemic, because you've had to go find stuff as a sports columnist. Mm-hmm. And I keep running across these thousands of columns that were out there that I ignored for 40. That's a great story.
Yeah.
But I went to a ball game instead and wrote Joe got knocked out in the 3rd inning or some damn thing like that. Anyway, I was thinking of... we were talking about Wooger and some of the Wooger stories, and about the bus trips the Gophers used to take to Houghton and stuff. And when Jake and Wanda, the parents, would go along, and Crowley and Bonnet would get beer for Jake in the back of the bus. And why didn't they ever ride with him to Houghton? It would have been great.
Oh, that would have been a great piece.
It would have been great. So anyway, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, speaking of Houghton,
yes,
where is Michigan Tech? What conference are they in?
They are in the...
They're with my Mavs, aren't they?
They're in the Mavs, and they are surviving in the WCHA is going away, Joe, the old the title. The 10-team WCHA is going away. Basically, they threw out the 2 Alaska teams and Huntsville. So they're down to 7 teams. And one of the Alaskas already said they're not going to play hockey, Anchorage. And Billy Robb is the commissioner and still trying to slap together a league, but it's not going to happen.
I've always wanted to cover a game in Houghton, or go to a game in Houghton.
Oh, it's great. I was up there a couple of times. But they got 3 teams on the UP, They got Northern Michigan, Michigan Tech, and Lake Superior State over in Sault Ste. Marie. And then they're going to have... whatever they're going to call the league, I think they're going to go back to CCHA, right? The old Central. And then they're going to have Bemidji, Mankato, who else? Ferris State.
Yeah.
And
St. Cloud?
No, St. Cloud's in the good league.
Oh, that's right,
NCHC.
yeah.
And Ferris State and somebody else out in that
Can
area.
this be right?
Bowling Green, I guess.
I'm on their Twitter account, Michigan Tech Hockey's Twitter account. They're celebrating their 100th year of hockey.
Oh God, yes, that's
yes.
They
wow.
They were Herbie's #1 rival in national in that national championship run. They played. Tech beat them one year. They beat Tech one year. Tech was a powerhouse because they had 22-year-old Canadians before.
Oh, sure.
They
who walked across frozen Lake Superior.
Yes, and all of them very, very strongly potential engineers, because that was an engineering school. I think they came up with some What did Sid used to whine about? The sports management classes at Michigan. That was the reason. That was the reason Michigan beat the Gophers 30 years in a row, because they had sports management classes. I think they had some sports management classes at Tech for all those Canadians. But
Isn't it? Don't they have a winter carnival there? Because that's when
it
I
was-
would wanted to have covered the game. Because
yes.
that was a big deal if
Ice
the Gophers
castles.
were there
Yeah.
during the winter carnival.
oh, Gilbert
Yeah.
used to make visiting the winter carnival on the weekend the equivalent of invading Russia, of Hitler invading Russia. You know, the odds are against you. It's a big play. He used to set up that winter carnival as though there was a mystique applied to it. I never saw it at the winter carnival, but all these engineers would go out and build these incredible ice castles and snow sculptures and stuff like the winter carnival, except with brainiacs behind them, and then they'd have the big competition, and that apparently was very festive. So
Yep.
and I don't know what kind of shape that school's in now, but they've had decent hockey in the last few years. They're like in the WCHA, the version that it is now. They're usually second or third.
What would my sister's kid be to me? My nephew?
Yes.
He went to Michigan Tech and
Okay.
actually was an engineer.
I can always figure out the nephew and niece thing. It's the first cousin, second cousin. What's the difference between a first cousin and a second cousin? I always have a hard time.
I don't even want to go there.
It
I
would
don't
be,
want to
I
do
believe, the son of your first, or son or daughter of your first cousin would be your second cousin.
Okay,
Follow
but how
me?
do you become my first cousin?
So, well,
How do you become my first cousin?
if you have a
Now, Kathleen and Cecilia in Slayton, we were very close to, and they were the daughters of my mother's brother.
yeah, those are your first
Those
cousins.
are first cousins. Okay, 'cause
So
I
their
never could
children
find-
would be your second cousin.
Okay.
And then down the line.
Okay, so there was my dad and his
you,
brother.
You can't marry your first or second cousin, but third cousin, you're getting
good there.
You're
Yeah.
getting in a gray area then, right?
So there was my dad and his brother. So my brother's kids would be my first
cousins. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
They're not nephews and nieces.
No. That would be the children of your siblings.
You can only be a nephew or niece if you're in that one family line, right?
Yeah.
So, mine is, you're at the end of the Patrick Ricey line, by the way. It's over.
Really?
Yep. Because now Ryan is my stepson, but we can't, and he got the grandkids, and I consider them to my precious grandkids, except when they're brats. And
Who's going to be the king?
but there's, Jim's not having kids, and Chris is,
I just lost Pat.
yeah,
There he is.
and yeah. So Jim's, my oldest son's not having children because they attempted that and it didn't work out, and Chris, there's no chance. She might want him to spend $5, and so it's going to be over, man. It's going to over.
I never thought I would have the chance to utter this line, but I have a first cousin on my mom's side of the family who married a second cousin of mine on my dad's side of the family.
Is that okay?
It is, and then when it was brought up at the wedding, he said, "She ain't my cousin."
Yeah. So, well, wait a minute now. Let's
No,
go through
because
this
the
again.
only unity is my parents. So she's the niece of my mom, but he's the second cousin of my dad. They have no relation to one another other than being husband.
There's no blood.
no,
streaming.
no.
I wonder if the whole cousin deal, I think just because they thought it was tacky, they said, well, if you marry your cousin, the kids will be insane, right?
Yes.
Wasn't that the deal?
Yeah, they were going to have
Something
a few
like that.
Did you hear that?
chromosomes messed up.
Yeah, I think it's just to keep it from happening because it looks a little tacky. Don't you?
Well, I'm not going to take the chance.
I think didn't royalty used to do that a lot, right?
Well, look at him. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's right. That's right. They did. Joe, I know we're drifting off sports here,
I think we have.
but I still can't figure out how Great Britain, the Britannia, the kings of the sea, and all this ended up with a bunch of Germans running the place.
Well,
How the
not
hell
only-
did that goes to 1600 or something, but how did the Germans take over?
Well, how in the hell did Charles is a Greek? He's from Greece.
Who?
Prince Charles, not who's the old guy? The queen's husband, isn't that
Prince
Charles?
Philip.
Or Philip? He's a Greek.
Well, yeah, but that was probably because of royalty. He was Greek royalty or something.
Who knows?
All,
They're
you know,
all
a lot
nuts.
of those Europeans don't recognize the counts, but they still got people running around calling themselves counts and stuff like that. I think he's my favorite royal of all time, though. I mean, he must be gone now because they don't let him out in public anymore. But his speeches and words and comments, inappropriate through the years, have been fantastic, wouldn't you say?
This is the result of two lousy basketball teams in the Twin Cities.
Yeah. we
And
have
no
to do
hockey.
this. Here, Joe, here's what's amazing. The best freshman basketball player in America, and probably the best guard in America, is from St. Paul, basically.
Jalen
Jalen
Suggs.
Suggs. He's from the Suggs of St. Paul. Right?
Where's he play?
He's cousins to the Suggs
Yeah, right.
from Cajun.
Is he at
Gonzaga.
Creighton?
He was at Minnehaha,
Uh-huh.
and then he is at Gonzaga, and they're number one in the country. And he's going to be a one and done, and probably one of the top 3 draft choices in the NBA.
All right.
Last night, Paige Buchers, who played at Hopkins, is a freshman at UConn,
Yep.
which is now 25 years into this dynasty. Got 31 of their 63 in overtime to beat number 1 rated South Carolina to become the number 1 rated team. And she is a freshman from Hopkins.
Yep.
So we are the basketball capital of of America, except for the fact that Timberwolves stink, the Gophers men stink, and the Gophers women stink, right?
Why couldn't the Gophers get Suggs?
They asked.
Yeah.
They were he politely
They asked.
declined.
The list of why didn't the Gophers get in the last decade is pretty impressive.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, they got a lot.
Why
of them.
didn't the women get Paige?
Well, I think Lindsay can blame the fact that the previous administration did not have her locked up. But women if they can go to UConn as their number 1 recruit, they're going to go to UConn. UConn is more prestigious in women's basketball than Duke is in men's basketball.
Wow. Yeah.
But here's the good news in college basketball. Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, and Michigan State, none of them are rated for the first time since 1961. Wow. That they had a ratings that at least one of them wasn't rated.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And they all seem to have the same problem. No great guard. You know, they all have mediocre guard play.
I did see that your guy, Coach K, a few weeks ago said that he thinks it's silly that we're continuing the season because they're so rotten this year, of course.
Yeah. And he didn't want to do back surgery this time. Last time, 30 years ago, when he had the bad team, he had back surgery and gave all the losses to Pete Gaudet. And, when you look on his record, those losses aren't on his record. And he was considering something. He's 72 or 3, though.
Is he
right?
really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
think so. Yeah, he's still a sniveling, egotistical.
You want something else to remember that's interesting about Brady?
Yes.
In 2000, his draft year,
Yes.
198 players were taken before him.
Yeah, well, Joe, he'd hardly been a starter at.
Yeah.
The only reason he was a starter at Michigan was Drew Henson.
He's going to play baseball.
Drew
right?
Henson, the Yankees gave Drew Henson this huge contract because he was the future of Michigan football as a quarterback. Drew Henson, he had a great year as a sophomore or something, and Brady was a bench warmer, and then Drew Henson signed. Michigan thought Drew Henson was coming back, and in August, Steinbrenner gave they drafted him in June, and then they gave him a big pot of money like in August, and they didn't have time to get another quarterback, so they played Brady, and they had a good year, but not good enough to make him higher than a 6th draft choice, 6th rounder, right?
It's amazing. He's got to be the only one in that class left in the league, isn't he?
Oh, I would
God,
imagine
yes.
so.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, he's
Yeah.
43 now, right?
Yeah.
And man, he looks more sprightly. He didn't look good early this year, but he looked more sprightly and not injured than the last part of the season and then the playoff run than he'd had in years. I mean, he'd had some injuries, gotten banged up a little, and have we checked the air pressure in the football? By the
I don't
way?
know if we had a report on that.
Perhaps the most overrated scandal in the history of sports.
It really wasn't much of a scandal.
No, but boy, there's a lot of people. Now, I heard a fellow in town happened to be trying to listen to whichever something was on the FM radio station, would have been a game, and I heard a very astute young man who's a commentator over there named Meat Sauce. And I mean, Meat Sauce was trying to convince everyone that Brady's terrible and he's just a horrible guy. And
Where is he getting that from?
what would he? He's terrible. He stinks, and then he hates Brady. Why do you hate Brady?
I have
What's there
no
to hate
idea.
about Brady? He wins and he doesn't rub people's nose in it.
He was the 7th quarterback taken that year.
Okay,
at
give me the first
199.
6.
Guess who was picked 15 spots ahead of him at pick 183? Out of Southwest Texas State by the Cleveland Browns, your guy, Spurgeon Wynn.
Really?
Who was
Oh,
drafted
really?
16 spots ahead of Mr. Brady.
What is the whole draft there? Who are the quarterbacks?
The quarterbacks with the 18th overall pick, the Jets.
Boy, so think how different the draft was back then.
18,
That
yeah.
18 is the first quarterback taken. Now, if you got a half a chance,
You're going
in
one.
the top
Yep.
3 or 1. Or, yeah.
At 18, the Jets took Chad Pennington. In the 3rd round, the 49ers took somebody.
So one quarterback in the first 2 rounds?
And as I read on the list, you're going to see why.
Okay.
The 49ers took a guy by the name of Giovanni Carmazzi out of Hofstra.
I never heard of him,
The
but I
Raven-
don't follow Hofstra football closely.
The Ravens took Chris Redman, who had a decent career. In the 3rd round, the Pittsburgh Steelers took T. Martin out of Tennessee. Didn't he win a national championship? Yep.
Didn't he?
The New Orleans Saints drafted Mark Bulger, who ended up being a starter for a long time with the Rams. I mentioned Spurgeon Wynn, Tom Brady. And lastly, the Washington Redskins took Todd Husak in the 6th round out
That
of
might be
Stanford.
the worst collection of quarterbacks drafted, except for Brady, in the last 20 years for sure. Yeah, but that's the way drafts used to be. Everybody wasn't in a panic to get a quarterback, but now that has changed. So
And I saw, did I see Carson Wentz is on his way out today?
somebody's going to. Who did I see who might take him?
The Bears and the Colts were rumored to be interested in
God
him.
Almighty, he's maybe the Colts, but he's not that good. I didn't like him when they were giving him $100 million. I don't get it.
I think injuries, though, derailed him because that year that they won it, before he got hurt, he was the MVP of the league, don't you think?
No, I don't. I don't think that. No. I didn't think, as good as he was, though, Joe, I didn't want Brady to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. I wanted somebody from that defense.
How about the defensive coach, Todd Bowles?
Yeah, he's going to get another chance probably to coach in the NFL. It is amazing when you consider that Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, is probably going to get a job too here in the next time around. And he's that quarterback. He's got to be 6'6", right?
Yeah, something like that.
He was Culpepper size.
Jacksonville,
He was big,
right? Didn't he play at
but
Jacksonville for a long time?
He's like 270, 280. I think he can walk in a room and be a commanding presence if he decides to. If he decides to go old school and chew somebody out, I think he could get your attention. 'Cause
Yes.
he's a big fella.
What gave Brady his break with the Patriots? How did it develop that he became the
Bledsoe
starter?
got hurt,
Yep.
and when Bledsoe got healthy, Brady played 5-6 games maybe, and Belichick, in a very controversial decision, decided to stick with Brady, much to the chagrin of Bledsoe and Bledsoe's backers, including my friend Ron Borges, who is a well-known boxing writer, but also a columnist and football writer. For, I believe he was with the Herald. It might have been the Globe. Wrote this scathing column about the idiocy of Belichick sticking with Brady. And then they won the Super Bowl.
And that one might have shown up on Old Takes Exposed.
Yes,
I believe, on
if that Twitter had existed then, just think. Just think. Brady is like 7 years before Twitter. You know, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, like he's way before Twitter.
That's crazy.
He's way before Julio Ojeda Zapata invented Twitter.
Right. Actually, Twitter's 2008.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his first year was what?
2000.
2000. Yeah. He was, email. People were still emailing back then, for God's sakes. Yeah. So it is incredible. And he said he was going to play till 45. Everybody keeps saying, is he coming back? Yeah.
Did you hear the Gronk story, by the way? So apparently, when they were supposed to be training on their own, this is how much you got to love a guy like Gronk. So they were supposed to be doing, go to your local high school and run your sprints and take video of it and then send it back in every day. They were supposed to be doing this. Apparently, Gronk and his buddy went to their high school in Arizona, I believe is where he lives in the off season, and Gronk brought 5 different shirts.
Okay.
And did a 15-second video of him running a wind sprint, and then would send them in
You know he stole that from?
Who?
Jeff Passolt.
Really?
Jeff Passolt. I almost got him fired because I was in. Was I still writing for St. Paul? I'm not sure. But Jeff was the kid reporter for the KR 11. He was like Ryder's whatever caddy. He's the guy that actually did the work. But Jeff came down to Fort Myers, and for the media, day, and Jeff on media day when they're marching the guys out, and Jeff's down there for a week, and Jeff likes to play golf and go to the beach. So Jeff shows up. He's got 5 shirts, right? So he interviews, whoever. Herbeck with 1 shirt, interviews Puck with the other shirt, does the whole thing. So I wrote some witty little thing about this guy's got it figured out or something like that. I had it in, and I said, either he was sweating a lot or there's something going on here, Passolt and I are buddies now, and I don't think he ever got real bitter.
Oh, he's a good guy. He's not a bad guy.
I don't think he ever got bitter, but he got, what were you doing down there when he
Were you more upset that you didn't think of it first?
No, I like being there, but I didn't have anything to do. He wanted to go play golf, and, he's a he was a good player and stuff like that. So,
are we going to have fans, by the way, at spring training?
Supposedly 2,500.
Yeah.
What the hell? If we can do that in Tampa, might as well have a exhibition.
Are you going, Patrick?
I think I might go head on down after I get the second vaccine. So,
right.
But I'm not beforehand. But the bride's not interested, so I don't know. I guess I'm going, but
the second one is where you're supposed to get maybe some after effects.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Days.
You got yours, didn't you, Such, on Friday?
Yeah.
First one.
But I didn't get. I get the second one in March.
Such and I, everybody's saying, we're both qualified.
Yep.
And we're both qualified. There's no.
Yes.
By the way, did you see that Bill Russell finally got vaccinated?
No.
And Bill Russell, he's 80 something, right?
Yep.
And he tweeted something out about how long he and his wife had been waiting. I think Bill Russell ought to get to go to the front of the line.
I do too.
Don't you?
Yes.
Some healthcare worker who's going to get a shot should call up and say, Bill, you can have mine.
Pat,
Bill,
there's no plan. As we now know,
No.
You're completely on your own.
Yeah, you are. But we're bragging in the headline that we're now 14th in the nation.
Yeah.
Which tells you that the nation is screwed up. Yeah, it's, this is the all-time if you have somebody that can give you a hint on where to call and take a shot. Nobody can get you, but they got to, if somebody can call, what do I do? I'm in the lottery, by the way, which, what did I say about the lottery? That Dean Chance was the worst hitter in the history of Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. He hit 68, right?
He was a pitcher. That's
yeah,
okay.
he was a pitcher, but he struck out 2/3 of the time in Lake Form, and he got 42 hits and 800 at bats or something. 809. Yeah, he had twice as good a chance of getting a hit as you did if you signed up for the lottery
right.
as a senior. Twice as good. Dean had twice as good a chance. I don't know how this occurred in my somewhat wacky brain, but I said, I'm thinking, I see the numbers, 205,000, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's 8,000 vaccines for that week or something. So I said, who's the worst?
Wait a minute. Who's the
worst hitter of all time? Who's the worst hitter of all? Dean Chance, the worst hitter I ever saw. I looked him up. Dean had twice as good a chance to hit a double as you do of winning that lottery. But they at least send you that notice every week saying you didn't make her, but we were thinking about you. So anyway, it's now, boy, I'd hate to be that outfit that South Africa says it doesn't work for our. They got millions of vaccines, and they're saying, it might not work for ours. So
yeah, that was troubling.
Anyway, I don't want them to tell me it doesn't work for these other ones.
No, you want to hear that it does work.
I just want to hear anything about it, okay?
Yeah.
I just want to, I got vaccinated, I got a better chance. Let's go. Yep. Let's go. How about Pedro Gomez, man? That is terrible, Joe.
What happened?
Nobody knows yet. 58 years old, good shape, hell of a guy. I knew him pretty well. And, 58. He's got a son who's a prospect with the Red Sox and just a good guy. Had his parents, his mother delivered him 2 weeks, I believe, after she arrived from Cuba. They arrived from Cuba, and or maybe it was 2 months, but mom was 7-8 months pregnant when they hit the shore here, and so Pedro was not born in Havana, but he could have been. But Pedro had that easy Spanish when he talked. That was a pretty, You had no hint of a Spanish accent with him. Obviously, he grew up here, but when he talked to a Spanish guy, it was like, old home week. And what an advantage, because he could go over there and BS with the Spanish guys, and they felt comfortable.
Sure,
and he would learn stuff. But I've tweeted this, and I talked about it earlier, but he wrote the ballsy. Before he went to ESPN, he was a columnist at the Arizona Republic, and he had been a ball writer in the Bay Area. And 2001, the Diamondbacks are in the World Series. And it's like anywhere, even though 2/3 of 90% of them had never been to a Diamondbacks game. It was madness down there, Joe. I mean, because it's the first time around, and also the last time, by the way. And it's like 87 here. It's like 87. How crazy it was, and how we were all writing this crap. The paper had front pages on the guy who'd set up a diamond in his yard, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
all those. Yeah. Game 7, they come home. They're down 3-2 because they blew those 2 games in Yankee Stadium, and then they hang 'em high. Kim gave up those home runs, and so they blow them out in Game 6, right? Didn't they beat them 15-1 or something? But Pedro's column on, I can't remember, were they weekends? I think they were weekends. Pedro's column on Sunday morning, Game 7. The starter is Curt Schilling, is what a jerk Curt Schilling is, and how none of his teammates can stand him.
Wow.
Before Game 7. And you can write that column in July But before Game 7 of the World Series, every time I saw him, I gave him the Sammy Cassell dance. I said, I would have never had the guts. And he shrugged and says, "That's it." He had quotes from unnamed players, but he had quotes.
His best work was when he was, assigned to
Following
cover Bonds.
Yeah.
Because he did not care at all. He would go after him. And I thought, wow, this guy's got a set on him.
Oh, Howard Bryant. Howard Bryant is a black sports writer and goes back a ways and has become very, very strident about, he's basically for the last 10 years he's written books and black issues. But he was a young sports writer in the Bay Area. No, in Arizona, because where was LaRusso? LaRusso was managing the A's. So Harold was like a 24-year-old prep writer at the rival paper, the Oakland Tribune or something. And he gets sent out to cover an A's game, and he writes a game story, and the headline says, Eckersley blows save. But he didn't blow a save. He gave up a 2-run homer when the game was tied 1-1. So, and in the story it says he gave up a 2-run homer. He didn't. The story doesn't say anything about blowing a save, right?
Okay.
It took a loss. Well, LaRusso, who can be the biggest jackass of all time, just went on this rant. Well, see what I put up with you guys, and who's Howard Bryant? Who the bleep is Howard Bryant? And the kid says, I am. And Howard says, the story didn't say that. The headline did. And Tony keeps going. And finally, Pedro says, JC, Tony, the story didn't say blew the save. Give the kid a break, for God's sakes, Tony. And
Good.
Howard said he's loved him ever since. They were very close, and he just talked to him 3 days ago. But Pedro, and there are a lot of veteran writers out there who are just sitting there not saying anything, like most of us would have probably. And I sat through a couple of TK's tirades against a certain sports writer, but I agreed with them, so I didn't interrupt. I don't know what I would have done in this. I don't know what I would have done in this situation, but that was the kind of guy he was too. He was fearless, but in a very low key way. He was, and ESPN screwed with him too.
They did.
They kind of cut down on his exposure at times, and he didn't. He just lived his life, a family man and good guy.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Because I saw Ratto had a piece on him. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, well, he and Ratto, Ratto was in the Bay Area.
Oh, sure.
When he was a kid out there. So Ratto, and he knew all those guys. Ratto is now writing for what the hell is it called?
I can't remember. Here, I'll pull up his account.
I think it's the guys who left Deadspin.
Well, the best was the last time we had him on the ride with Royce. You asked him how things were going. He said, "Well, I think I'm the only writer in America that doesn't work for The Athletic."
No, this is the guys who broke off from Deadspin because Deadspin wanted them to be classy.
Defector Media?
Defector. He writes for the Defector.
Hey, you know who I heard from recently?
Tell me.
David Israel, of all people.
Holy cow.
Yeah, living in L.A., writing novels.
Writing novels.
None of which have sold, I'm aware.
He went out and wrote some screenplays, though, right?
Yep,
Didn't he follow Schulian out there, basically?
Yep.
Is Schulian still with us, I think?
I think
don't
so.
know. You used to see Schulian's name on. Israel wrote a TV series or two, didn't he? I think he did.
I'll always be indebted to Schulian, because Schulian was the guy who turned me on to Elmore Leonard.
Mm-hmm. Schulian was a great writer.
Yeah.
But apparently, if you were on the desk of the Chicago Tribune or the L.A. when he was out there and changed a comma, he would call up and scream. Right. Yeah, he was very into the words. But Israel was great too. Israel was, but he went out and They got in on TV. I think I don't know what John was writing movies, but I think Israel wrote a couple of TV
They got
series.
smarter earlier than we did.
Yes, they did. They
Yeah.
didn't. They thought there was more to life. That's my problem.
Yeah.
That's my problem. I never thought there was more to life. I thought this was there's nothing else. What the hell? You know what I mean?
That's why you were so thrilled to get a shot. You finally got something.
I finally got something.
Got something.
I was listening to country western, of course, riding down to Fulda yesterday, and I'm heading down to the prairie, and Jerry Lewis comes on.
Oh boy.
And Jerry Lee Lewis is singing Middle Age Crazy. And I'm thinking, you know what? Because Middle Age Crazy, there's a great line in there about still thinking I can get it done or something. And I was thinking, you know what I am? I'm old age crazy. I'm driving to Fulda to try to come up with some kind of a sonnet on little tiny towns trying to play sports. So, Joe, Fulda. I would have graduated. The superintendent came in with the yearbook from my junior year, 66 in that class, 66.
66 people.
Later on, in the senior class.
Wow.
Later on, they graduated. I was talking to this gal that took a couple of photos for me. And she graduated in the 80s, and they had a class of 89.
Wow.
One time in the 80s. 17.
No.
17 this year.
Wow.
17 seniors. That's why they're playing sports with Heron Lake, Okabena.
Right.
How can they even afford it?
These
Remain
little towns, man, they want to, they still got I don't know when they're going to get a new generation down there, but they don't want to lose their high school. So they, Ellsworth, which won 2 or 3 state basketball titles, little tiny town down there a mile from the Iowa border. And they have finally given it up and athletically and now sending their athletes to Adrian, which is a little bigger town. But they still got a school, and they got 100 and I ran into the Schilling brothers. 2 of the Schilling brothers were refereeing last night. And I was talking because they were the stars of those Ellsworth teams. And they got 151 kids K through 12. And they still got their school going in Ellsworth. They got 12 seniors or something like that.
Wow.
You go down there, Joe, and it's just incredible how many towns there are. Why did we build all these towns?
Because they all had grain elevators, probably.
Yeah, and water stops for the train, allegedly. Yeah. And there was more than one. Apparently, trains had their own tracks. Yeah. So, one company had different tracks. So you got all these towns. Heron Lake and Okabena are identical towns, 5 miles apart from each other.
Right.
Wow.
For what purpose?
Why? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is really weird down there, but man, they're hurting. They're hurting. Meanwhile, the Schilling brothers, these 2 guys own 2,000 acres and have 18,000 hogs.
Wow.
They can get you a slab of bacon if you talk to them.
Right.
This isn't the U of M Schillings.
No. This is the Ellsworth guys that one of them was a great player at Augustana when they won the national championship. And, they were probably a couple of Mr. Basketballs in there.
They ain't the Kurt Schillings either.
No, they aren't the Kurt Schillings. No.
Worst teammate in the history of sports.
Yeah. Pedro. Whew.
All right,
Pedro,
lad.
you're my hero.
Yep.
All right, see you. I've got a buddy, Bob, who has 3 New Year's resolutions every year, and truth be told, he rarely succeeds at accomplishing his goals. He's not alone, by the way. Only 10% of us do accomplish our New Year's resolution. Then it hit me. Bob should call the Canopy Group. Why? Bob wants to read more, and I'm not going to be able to read to him. Bob wants to lose 20 pounds, and I'm sure not the guy to help him with that. But I can help him with his 3rd resolution, and that is to save money. How's he going to do that? By handing this resolution over to the 30 professionals at the Canopy Group. They will help Bob save money on his home and auto insurance and have better coverage at the same time. There's 16 companies assure Bob's success, not only just this year, but they will do this for Bob every year to be sure he has the best coverage at the best price. New clients save more than $800 annually. Hand your New Year's resolution over to the Canopy Group and be part of the 10% with good old Bob, who succeeds succeed in accomplishing at least one of their New Year's resolutions. Call 800-967-3389 or visit thecanopygroup.com. All you Bobs out there, get with it. 800-967-3389 or visit thecanopygroup.com.
It's Reavers for Josh Arnold, Mr. Money Talk, who has a very important question for you. Do you know what you own? You see, Josh's clients, they always know what they own. He has found that he meets people with every single day that they have no idea what they own. He has seen retirement portfolios that have a big percentage in bonds. And there are real instances of people paying more in commissions and fees than they can possibly make on the rate of return that these bonds currently yield. Josh begs of you, know what you own. Trust is often overused, and it's even harder to find. You can take it from me that you can trust Josh. Give him a call today for that free 48-minute financial consultation at 952-925-5608. That's 952-925-5608.